What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews, and I'm here to take you through all my favorite plays on this upcoming NBA slate. Now, the last set of games, it was a little bit average, not going to lie, but we weren't. Another 4.6 units profit, another banging day. We are killing it in April. It takes our season total to 107 units profit. Now, if this is your first time watching these videos, I share my screen. We go through Outlier. I take you through all the leans that I have. I've got 31 of them today, so it's going to be a long video, but I'll take you through all the different plays. I'll tell you what I like about them. And then by the time you're finished watching this whole video, scroll down, check the pinned comment, and you'll see my final bets if you do choose to ride it with me. Now, if that sounds interesting, let's go. All right, we're kicking things off with the Houston Rockets versus the Dallas Mavericks. A very early game, this one. It's 5 a.m. my time, so hopefully we wake up to some green. But there's a couple of players that I do like in this game. Let's get through it, Let's start with Jabari Smith Jr. I've got a couple of players. I've got two picks that I'm considering, and I've also got a value play that I might take as well. But the very first pick we're looking at here is for Jabari Smith Jr. to go under 8.5 rebounds. Now, he's cashed the under in 8 consecutive games now. He's playing center with Şengün out of the lineup. Does have a difficult matchup here. The Dallas Mavericks, they are the 13th fewest rebounds to centers. He's up against Daniel Gafford. So I think they kind of cancel each other out, but a big rebounding game for Jabari Smith, I don't see that happening. In head-to-head matchups, Jabari Smith, he's covered this line in 4 of his last 7, but his last 2 games against the Dallas Mavericks recorded 8 and 7 rebounds. I do feel like this line might move to 7.5. So yeah, I'm pretty confident he finishes under 8.5, but at minus 142. I'm not too interested in it. I'll do some line shopping. I'll research it further. And if I find better odds, it might be something that I take. The other Jabari Smith play that I like, though, is his 3-pointers made prop. So the line is at 1.5. You can see he's cashed this in 8 out of his last 10 games. He's got a great matchup here. The Mavericks allow the 4th most 3-pointers to centers. So the way they play the pick and roll and Daniel Gafford's willingness to protect the rim, a lot of drop coverage. If there's a pick and pop happening, Jabari Smith, he's going to find himself wide open. So I'm loving his recent form as of late, especially in his last 5 games. His last 5 games, he's averaging 3.4 3-pointers made per game. He's attempting 8.4 3-point attempts, which is absolutely crazy. So he's got the green light. And with the green light, 8.4 attempts. He's shooting it at a 40% clip. So I'm very confident he covers the 1.5. I'm also considering taking a line of 2.5 for him. So for him to make 3, that's at plus 250. So I like the odds of that. He's hit this in 4 of his last 5 games, which is great. And he hit 5 3-pointers the last time they versed the Dallas Mavericks, and Houston still lost that game by 18 points. So, yeah, I'm really liking Jabari Smith 3-pointers, so pretty confident I'll take that bet. His rebounds, I'm still a little bit skeptical on it, but the form lines, you can't ignore it. So I wanted to share that with you. The other play that I'm looking at here is for Jalen Green. Now, he did ruin my ladder play the other day. Needed 4.5 assists. He finished on 4. But his line now is at 3.5. And at 3.5, he's been covering it very well. 6 consecutive games against Miami. Diving a bit further into that game, he had 12 potential assists in that Miami game and only finished on 4. Unfortunately, Fred and Jabari couldn't make shots when they needed to in order for us to cash that ladder play. But I'm not going to hold it against him. I don't believe in having a banned list and all that type of bullshit. So I do think he covers his 3.5, but at minus 145, I'm not loving it. It does have a good matchup too. The Dallas Mavericks allow the 7th most assists to shooting guards on the season. And in head-to-head matchups, check this out. Jalen Green has covered this assist line in 7 consecutive games against the Dallas Mavericks, which is absolutely wild. So I do like that. Another play that I like of his is his rebounds plus assists. So that line's at 9.5. Very much the same as his assist prop. He's covered in 6 consecutive games. The Mavs allow the 2nd most rebounds. As I said, the 7th most assists to shooting guards, so he's been killing that. In head-to-head matchups, he's covered in 4 out of his last 7. But what I do want to call out is without Şengün, his rebounding numbers have gone through the roof as well. So if we look at his games against Dallas without Şengün, he's only played them once. He had 11 rebounds and assists. His last 10 games, obviously all without Şengün, and we can see that his rebound numbers have really improved. So I do like both of these players. I'm just not too sure which one I'm going to take, but I'll probably take the rebounds and assists. It looks like you're getting much better odds for it compared to just the assists, but I'll do some line shopping and I'll investigate it a bit further later on. The next play that I like is also in this game. shit, there's another 4 players. So I'm really liking this game. So we're heading over to Luka here. And what I like for Luka is his 3-pointers made prop. So the line here is at 3.5. He is a game time decision though, so there's a chance he doesn't play. But if we take the bet and he doesn't play, we don't lose anything. So Luka, line at 3.5. He's covered this in 5 consecutive games now. In his last 5 games, he's averaging 5.6 3-pointers made, which is wild. That includes 9 3-pointers made the last time he played the Houston Rockets. In head-to-head matchups, he's covered in 3 out of his last 5. The odds are at minus 140 though, so I'm not loving that. Now I think about it, I probably won't take this bet because he just hit 9 3-pointers against the Houston Rockets. Surely they blitz him harder. They don't let him play one-on-one because I just can't see them letting him do that again. I'm not saying to take the under because Luke is going to take a whole lot of shots, averaging almost 11 3-point attempts in his last 10 games, which is bonkers. And in his last 5, it goes even higher, almost 12 3-point attempts. So the form lines are great for this play. The odds are not. But yeah, I'm a little bit on the fence. I'll still investigate that a little bit further. But there is a 3-point prop that I'm loving a lot more. And if you guys have been tailing these picks, we cashed a high value single on this one. So I'm liking PJ Washington here. So his 3-point line's at 1.5. It's minus 160. I think he covers that with ease. He's averaging 2.6 3-pointers made in his last 10 games. He's hit it 8 of his last 10, 7 consecutive games. He's made 2 or more 3-pointers. His last matchup against Houston Rockets, he made 3 3-pointers. He shot 3 for 5. So didn't attempt a whole lot. His last 5 games, we can see his last 3 games, especially the attempts are up, averaging almost 8 attempts per game. He's made 5 3-pointers in 2 consecutive games now against Atlanta and the Golden State Warriors. The Houston Rockets, they do defend the 3-point line quite well, but still, PJ Washington has hit this before. And he's shooting a much better percentage as of late. 2 games above 60% after he had gone like a really long stretch shooting poorly. So if we look at his last 20 games, he's shooting 35% from the field. In his last 20 games, he shot 50% or more in only 5 games. 2 of those 5 games are his most recent games. So he is finding some good form when it comes to his 3-point shooting. If Luka plays, he's going to get a lot of opportunities. So I am liking that. I'm also going to be looking at taking his over 2.5 at plus 200, purely because as of late, shot attempts and his shot percentage is excellent. I can't ignore that. The other play that I don't mind for PJ Washington is his first quarter points prop. Check this out. So he's covered this in 6 of his last 10, but in 4 straight, he's absolutely killed it in the first quarter. Check this out. In his last 5 games, averaging 6.4 points per game in the first quarter. Playing about 8 minutes. So the line at 2.5, minus 145, over 3 is minus 120, opportunity for a push, but I might even take an extended line for 5, maybe for 7. So PJ Washington, I might ladder that first quarter play. Scored 4 points last time he played the Houston Rockets. So I'll dive into this a lot further. I'll check to see how many attempts is he taking in the first quarter and minutes and all that type of stuff. But yeah, I am liking that. Then we move on to Derrick Jones Jr. So I'm looking at his points plus rebounds prop here, and I'm looking at taking an under 12.5 points and rebounds for Derrick Jones Jr. Now he's covered this in 7 out of his last 10 games. Well, he's gone under 7 out of his last 10. Does have a difficult matchup here. The Rockets defend threes very well. Derrick Jones Jr. doesn't take a whole lot of attempts either. 6 attempts per game. And where he excels is in those games that are, I guess, more fast-paced, a lot more transition opportunities. This game with the Houston Rockets, it will be somewhat fast. The Rockets are 13th in the league in terms of pace. Dallas is 6th. But I think with the emergence of Washington, that could slow down Derrick Jones a little bit as well. Rebound-wise, who does Derrick Jones chase around? He's probably defending Jaylen Green in this game. Jaylen Green can get very active on the offensive end. So Derrick Jones Jr. might not have a lot of opportunities to get boards. So I'm not loving that as much as PJ Washington, but I think it's still a good play. And if I had to play that play 100 times, I reckon I'd win it 60 to 70 times. So I think it's a good pick. The other one is a little bit more adventurous, and it's a market that I don't often bet too much, but I'm looking at Daniel Gafford blocks, and I'm looking at taking the over 2.5 blocks. So over 2.5 blocks plus money, plus 155. So I love that. He's cashed this in 4 out of his last 10 games. So that's pretty good. I think they're still missing Derek Lively. So Gafford, the only shot blocker left on the roster. So without Lively, he's covered this in 5 of his last 10 games. if we have a look at how he's gone against Houston Rockets. The last time they played, he had 5 blocks in that game. The Rockets allow a lot of blocks to centers. They actually get blocked a lot in general, and that's because they don't have knockdown shooters. They rely on a lot of points in the paint, and a lot of it's from their guards. So, Thompson, not Dylan Brooks, but Jalen Green especially, and that leads to get into the paint. Daniel Gafford had a great game against them last time. Chances are he can do it again. You could also look at Daniel Gafford for 3.5 blocks. That's plus 410 that I was looking at, but that's a little bit crazy. He's done it before, 20% of his games in his last 10, but I don't think the odds are high enough for that. But for Daniel Gafford to get 2.5 blocks, I might be able to muck around with that. So I'll research that further, and if I can find great odds, it's something that I'll be taking. So heading into the next game now, it's the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers 3.5-point favorites. Kawhi Leonard is still out though. What have I got in this game? So I've got 4 players that I want to look through. The first one is for Donovan Mitchell. So what I'm looking at here, I'm looking at his PRA. And I think I'm looking at under 30.5. Yeah, I am. So what we can see here, Donovan Mitchell has gone under 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists in 7 consecutive games now. Just come back from injuries, played 4 games since coming back from injury. Yep. And in all 4 games, he's gone under his PRA. In terms of head-to-head matchups, he's smoked the Clippers in the past, though. So I'm a little bit hesitant about that. But what gives me some sort of confidence is that in his last 5 games, Donovan Mitchell, he's only attempting 13.6 shots per game. So he's not shooting the ball well. He's only shooting 34% from the field, and he's not shooting the ball much, 13 to 14 shots per game. He's under 21.5 points. Looks like a pretty good play. He has cashed that once in his last 5 games. That was a game where he shot the ball 17 times. But in that game, he still went under his PRA. So that's why I'm looking at the PRA. Obviously, I like the under in his points, but I think the PRA, based on his recent form, he does have a difficult matchup. They are on a back-to-back as well. But that's why I think this could cash, because I think he goes under in his points prop, and he's not dominating the glass. He's not getting heaps of assists at the moment. Unless something drastic changes, I feel a little bit confident here taking Donovan Mitchell's PRA, but I'll look into that a bit further. The next one is just one of the plays that I seem to be taking almost every single time they play. It's Jared Allen, 4.5 first quarter points. So we just took that bet today, I believe, against the Lakers. He scored 8 points in the first quarter. So his line's at 4.5. He's covered this in 9 out of his last 10 games. Got a difficult matchup against Zubac, but Jared Allen has cashed in 2 out of his last 3. He scored 4 points in that last matchup against the Los Angeles Clippers back in January. So I'm going to research this a little bit further, but I'm not going to overthink it. It's been cashing so well for us. Why should I stop? It just seems to be working, so let's just keep going. So there's Jared Allen. The next one is for James Harden. So I'm also looking at taking an under in James Harden's points. He's been distributing the ball quite well as of late, but points-wise, line's at 17.5. He's cashed this in only 2 of his last 10. So if we go to the under, so he's hit the under in 8 out of his last 10 games. Difficult matchup here. The Cavs allow the 7th fewest points to point guards on the season. Head-to-head wise, he only scored 11 points the last time they played. He played 38 minutes. He only shot the ball 8 times. If we look at his last 10 games, what are we seeing? James Harden only shooting the ball 11.4 times per game, shooting 35% from the field, 25% from deep, and he's only taking 3.8 attempts per game from the free throw line. So these aren't the offensive stats that we're used to. So I know that Kawhi Leonard is out. So let's have a look at his numbers without Kawhi Leonard. So without Kawhi Leonard, he's cashed the under in 6 out of his last 10 games. But more recently, he struggled. These were all in December. A lot of these higher scoring outputs in those games shot the ball a lot more. Kawhi Leonard's been out now for 3 consecutive games. In those games, he's only cashed this line once. That was against Denver, but he shot the ball 23 times, which is a massive outlier based on his last 10. So, yeah, I'm leaning towards the under there in James Harden, but we'll see. I'll research that a bit further. And then the last one for this game, I'm looking at Zubac, and I'm looking at under in his rebounds. So his line set at 11.5, and he has been rebounding okay, not going to lie, but he's gone under 11.5 rebounds in 8 out of his last 10 games. Cavs allow the 10th fewest rebounds
to any team. And to centers, look, they allow the 18th field, so like the 13th most rebounds to centers, which isn't massive. That's middle of the pack type stuff. He'll be up against Jared Allen today. Evan Mobley will be there to back his ass up. So in head-to-head matchups as well, last 2 games against Cleveland, he's had 9 and 7 rebounds. So it's not like he's dominated in the past. In those games, he played 27.4 minutes. In his last 10 games, 27-minute average. So he's not getting more opportunities than he had previously gotten. Could be the fact that PJ Tucker's on there as a starting power forward, and he can't rebound. Well, he doesn't rebound to save his life, really. But yeah, Zubac to go over this. Look, it's hit at 78%. He's the under 78% of the games this season. So he's played 65 games. 65 games, 51 of those games, he's gone under 11.5 rebounds. Now, if this was the Charlotte Hornets, the Washington Wizards, I'd probably, be hesitant to take the under here, but you're up against Cleveland Cavs. They allow the 10th fewest. They're a pretty decent rebounding team. So unless Zubac's plans 30 to 35 minutes or the sports books know something that I don't know, then yeah, I'm thinking about taking the under here on Zubac. Now let's jump into the next game. So quite a few picks on the 2 early games. There's a lot. There's less in the upcoming games. Not gonna lie, but 31 players is how many I'm going to take you through today. The next game is the Miami Heat versus Indiana Pacers. Now, Halliburton, he's a game time decision in this game, as well as Jaylen Smith. The Pacers are 1-point favorites in the game, so it should be a very close one, and it will go down to the wire. I've analyzed this game, and there's only one player that's really propped up on my radar, and that's for this guy, Nikola Jokic. So the first one is his points plus his assists. So that line is at 7.5, and check this out. He's cashed this line in 9 consecutive games now. 9 consecutive games. He's doing it with an average of 21.7 minutes per game. So Kevin Love is back, and he should eat into Jovic's minutes, but Jovic is still starting. So just let me find Kevin Love. Here's Kevin. So those are the games without Kevin Love. I was meant to say with Kevin Love. So with Kevin Love, he's cashed this in 4 consecutive games now. So Kevin Love's been back for 3 games now. In all 3 of those games, Nikola Jokic has still been able to cash this line. So yeah, his points plus assists pretty good. He's got a great matchup to score points here against the Indiana Pacers. He's yet to verse them yet, so there's no data on how he has played against them. This is his points prop. So he's hit his points line of 5.5 in 8 out of his last 10 games, and he does have a great matchup here. I found the assist just gives you a higher hit rate, really. But then the other play I was looking at is his rebounds plus assists. So his rebounds plus assist line's at 4.5. He's cashed this in 6 straight games now, which is pretty impressive. So then I was thinking, what if I just take his PRA? His PRA is at 10.5. He's cashed his PRA in 8 out of his last 10. So, yeah, I'm not too sure I'm going to take, but I'll probably take one of them. We'll see. We'll see where we go. But I looked through the book. I don't like anything for Halliburton. Because Halliburton's game time decision, he might other people's lines. Didn't like anything for Pascal, Miles Turner, Jimmy, Bam. You guys know what I'm like about this Miami Heat team. I don't like betting on him. So I was close to betting on Terry Rozier, but Tyler Hero just came back from injury. And then the first time he came back, Rozier's points plummeted. So, yeah, I wasn't willing to take anything on that. The next game, though, is the Portland Trail Blazers versus the Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they're both game time decisions for this one. There are 2 players I want to talk you through. The very first one I wanted to look at is been kind to us for quite some time. I'm considering another first quarter player prop for DeAndre Ayton, and that's an over in his points. So his line's at 6.5. That hasn't moved. It's plus money. I've been taking it at 7.5 for even better odds. But he's hit this in 7 of his last 10, 4 consecutive games now. He's cashed the over in his first quarter points prop. He's versus the Boston Celtics once this season. He scored 6 points in that game, which isn't great. The Celtics defend centers somewhat well with Kristaps Porzingis in there, but look, similar to Jared Allen, it keeps cashing, so why don't we just keep playing it, right? So I'm not just putting the bet on right now. I'm still going to investigate a couple of things a bit further, but yeah, I am liking DeAndre Ayton's points prop, but only in the first quarter. The other play that I'm liking just to have a good overall game, though, is Scoot Henderson. So I'm looking at either his PRA or just his rebounds and assists. Let's look at his PRA first. So the line's at 27.5. He's got a great matchup for points, for rebounds, not so much for assists. Now, he's cashed this in 4 consecutive games, 6 out of his last 10. So the recent form is pretty good. In head-to-head matchups, he had 27 PRA, 13 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists. Played each other about a month ago. Obviously, Portland missing almost everyone who can contribute, most notably Brogdon, Simons, Sharp. So they're 3 players who would start in front of Scoot Henderson in the backcourt. Scoot is the main man, starting point guard, getting a lot of minutes up against the Boston Celtics team that probably not going to take this game too seriously, if I'm being honest. Like, what do the Celtics have to play for at this point? They're locked into that number 1 seed. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum could miss the game. So, yeah, Scoot Henderson to have a pretty good game. That's what I'm thinking. I just want to show you his rebounds plus assists. So that line was at 9.5 when I took my notes earlier, but it's moved to 10.5 now for plus money. And his rebounds and assists, he's cashed this in 3 out of his last 4. And he played the Celtics, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. So he finished on 14 rebounds plus assists. So his form against the opponent, he's done better with this. His recent form is better if you include his points. So that's what I'm just weighing up at the minute. And then, yeah, I'm pretty sure there'll be a Scoot Henderson play. I just got to investigate a little bit further to find out. Other than that, no interest. And well, there's no lines for Boston Celtics players available at the moment. So I've got nothing on them. Let's jump into the next one. It's in New Orleans Pelicans versus the Phoenix Suns. So Zion Williamson is a game time decision in this. So the only markets available are for the Phoenix Suns. For this game, I've only got 2 picks that I'm really considering. One of them is for my man Grayson Allen. So I did just take a bet on Grayson Allen not too long ago, and he cashed that with ease. I think I took his points plus assist prop, and he scored like 23 points. That came in like very easy. But in this game here against the Pelicans, I'm looking at his rebounds plus assists. So the line's at 5.5. He's cashed this in 8 out of his last 10 games. He's usually going to get an easy matchup, right? He's probably the least threatening play. Him and Nurkic, they usually pick up. Well, Grayson Allen usually gets the worst defender that they have put on him. Some easy opportunities here, but he has been creating well. He has been getting rebounds as of late as well. So he's cashed this in 8 out of his last 10. And the last 2 times he played the Pelicans, 10, and he also had 6 covering this line both times. He just finished on 6 the last time they played. So, and he has finished on 6 quite a few times in his last 10 games. But I don't hate this player. I'm going to dive in a little bit further. The odds at minus 140 is what will drive me away. But I think the hit rate is pretty good. The last player that I'm looking at, someone I don't bet on too much, it's Kevin Durant. And I'm looking at his first quarter points prop, Mr. Durant. So his line is at 4.5. Check this out. His line's at 4.5, and as of late, he has been smoking it. He's covered in 6 of his last 10, but 5 games he's gone over his points prop in the first quarter. What that also includes is an 11-point outing against the New Orleans Pelicans. So his last 2 games against the Pelicans this season, 7 and 11 points in the first quarter. So I am liking KD to cover that first quarter prop. He is on fire at the moment. I am going to research that further. I want to look at his shot attempts and all that type of stuff. So let's see how active he's been getting. But I do like that. And then we'll jump into the next game. It's the Chicago Bulls versus the Orlando Magic. So we've got Kobe White, Alex Caruso as game time decisions. Orlando pretty much healthy in this one, 7.5-point favorites. So I've only found really one player that I like, and he's someone who's played for the Magic before, currently plays for the Bulls. It's Nikola Vucevic. So I like his. I'll show you the player that I'm thinking of just taking as a single bet, and then I'll look at the high value single. So looking at his rebounds plus assists, 13.5. I'm kicking myself because I haven't put these bets on yet, but when I took notes for all of these players a couple of hours ago, some of these lines were a lot lower. So Vucevic was at 12.5. It's now moved to 13.5. But anyway, the 13.5, he's still cashed very well. 8 out of his last 10 games, he's cashed 13.5 points. Rebounds plus assists. Yeah, look, he does have a difficult matchup here against the Magic. 3rd fewest rebounds, 3rd fewest assists to centers on the season. But Vucevic used to play for the Magic, and every time he comes to town, he goes to work. Check this out. Last 6 games against the Magic, he's hit this line of 13.5 in 5 out of those 6 games, averaging 17.3 rebounds and assists against the Orlando Magic. This season, he's played them twice. He had 16 and then 21. So some massive efforts from Nikola Vucevic. So that's one single bet that I'm definitely considering. And the high value single I'm looking at is just looking at taking his rebound prop. So his regular line is at 10.5. What I'm considering taking here is 12.5. So that 12.5 is plus 230. He's hit this in 5 of his last 10. Not the greatest, but he's averaging 13 rebounds against the Orlando Magic. He's covered this in 4 of his last 6, and he had 17 boards against them the last time they played. Yes, it was an overtime game, but 17 boards nonetheless. So that's one thing I'm considering. I'll probably definitely take the rebounds plus assists, but the 12.5 rebounds on its own, that I'm still a bit unsure of, but I do like what I'm seeing. Heading into the OKC Thunder versus the Charlotte Hornets now, Isaiah Joe, Gordon Hayward, game time decisions, as well as Nick Richards. I'm not sure about Jalen Williams, SGA. I think he's still out as well. So the only plays, what have I got? How many am I looking at? I've actually got 3 different picks in this game that I don't mind. So the first one, we're looking at my man Chet Holmgren. Now, Chet, what do I like for Chet? I believe it's his rebounds plus assists. Yes, it is. And what I'm looking at is an under. So Chet's rebounds and assist line is at 11.5. He has a good matchup here for rebounds. Everyone knows the Charlotte Hornets can't rebound to save their life, especially to bigs. They allow the 4th most rebounds to centers on the season. Assists, they do quite well. The 4th fewest assists to centers on the season. Now, Chet, he's not your traditional center. A lot of the times, the Hornets get demolished inside because they lack size. Now, Chet, he's tall, he's long, but it sounds like I'm describing a dick. Sorry. He's tall. He doesn't have the size, really. He's not thick enough. He's not strong enough. He doesn't have that drive to get boards yet, which is why you don't see massive rebound efforts from Chet. And over his last 10 games, he's averaging 8.8 rebounds plus assists, which is not great. Albeit, he has had some difficult matchups in here. Not going to lie, has had some difficult ones. Charlotte Hornets, not the most difficult matchup, but he's played them once earlier this season. In that game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. OKC won that game by 20 points. Chet only played 23 minutes. So I'm still a little bit unsure on this one. He's averaging 27 minutes over his last 10 games. But my gut's telling me that he goes under. What else can I say? But I'll be researching that one a little bit further. I'm sticking on the rebounds and assists front as well. And I'm looking at another under here, believe it or not, in the same game. Looking at Brandon Miller. And I'm looking at taking his under in his rebounds and assists. So his line is at 8.5. Now he's gone under 8.5 rebounds plus assists in 8 out of his last 10 games. In terms of matchup, he's got a difficult matchup. The OKC Thunder allow the 3rd fewest rebounds and the 3rd fewest assists on the season. Lou Dort probably going to be the man that picks up Brandon Miller. Lou Dort, probably their best perimeter defender for the OKC Thunder. Does spread the floor as well, so it's not like Brandon Miller can just leave him wide open and go get some boards. Last time they matched up, he did have 4 rebounds and 4 assists, though, so he got very close, which makes me a little bit nervous. But in saying that, he's only gotten that close twice in his last 10 games. And he's gone over it twice as well. So I'm a little bit on the fence about this one. I am obviously leaning towards the under, and the numbers are very good, so I felt like I had to show you those. And the other play is my mate from down under, Josh Giddey. Now, Josh Giddey has been playing quite well as of late, but it's hard to find any trends because sometimes he scores a lot, sometimes he gets a lot of it. He got 12 assists the other day, rebounds well. Like, he can do it all, but he doesn't always. But what I'm looking at here is an over in his 3.5 points. So he's cashed this in 6 out of his last 10, 3 consecutive games now. Has picked up the scoring load with SGA out of the lineup. Doesn't play that many minutes in the first quarter, though. 7.2 minutes in the first quarter for Josh Giddey. But if we have a look at his games without SGA, check that out. He's covered this in 8 out of his last 10 games with SGA out of the lineup. So that's probably the main reason I'm looking at this pick. I'm going to research it a bit further, but I've had a lot of success on first quarter props for seeing very similar trends just like this. So we'll see. We'll see where I land with this one. Josh Giddey. Now, the next game is the Toronto Raptors versus the Washington Wizards. Now, usually I can find a lot of value in these types of games. The 2 shit teams up against each other, it does get a little bit difficult. Kyle Kuzma, Gary Trent Jr., game time decisions. They're probably the main ones you need to know about. Both teams with a lot of outs. The tank is well on its way. The only play that I'm looking at here is for RJ Barrett, and I'm just looking at his points prop. Actually, that's a lie. It looks like RJ Barrett props are no longer available. Let's see what the hell's going on here. Or maybe it's just his triple-double prop that's not available. Hopefully it's just that. It is. All right. So I'm looking at over 22.5 points for RJ Barrett. You can see it on the screen. There's a whole lot of green, and when the green is there, I get aroused. Now, he's covered this in 8 of his last 10 games, averaging 22.6 points per game. He's just come back from a long layoff. He's had 2 games since returning, scoring 28 against the Lakers, 26 against the Milwaukee Bucks, and then he comes up against the worst defensive team in the competition, the Washington Wizards. So Gary Trent Jr. is a game time decision. If he's not playing, then RJ Barrett covers this. I'm 99% sure. But even if he does play, I think RJ Barrett's got a good chance, because what's he doing? He's getting quite a few minutes now, 34 minutes in his last game. His shot attempts are high, 18 shot attempts in both of his games since he returned. Shooting at 55% in his last 10, 51% from deep. Can't shoot free throws to save his life, but in his last game, he shot him at 82%. So he's got a pretty good matchup here against Washington. The line is not high enough. It probably hesitate, to be honest, but at 22.5, I'll eat that up all day. So hopefully RJ Barrett, we see at least 33 minutes out of him. If he takes his normal 17 to 18 shots, I think we're going to be laughing here. So I do like this play for RJ Barrett, but that's the only play that I like in this game. All those other guys, they can get fucked. Now, jumping into the next one, it's the Philadelphia 76ers versus San Antonio Spurs. I wish Joel Embiid wasn't so crippled all the time. It'll make my life as a bettor a lot easier. We've got Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid as game time decisions at the moment. Philly are 6.5 point favorites. So there are 3 players that I like in this game. First one, well, there's only 3 players available to bet on. My bad. Joel Embiid, Trey Jones, and Victor Wembanyama. I do have a lean for all of them though. So let's go through it. First one is Victor Wembanyama assist. So we took his assist prop last time. He cashed it with 9. Went crazy against the Pelicans. But that was a lot easier to take than this one. Purely being is the last time he versed the Pelicans prior to this game, he had 7 assists in that game. So we had some history against the opponent to say, yeah, he can definitely do this against them. Now he's up against the 76ers, who he hasn't had many assists against. He's got the Joel Embiid matchup. So his recent form is great. We can't lie. He's averaging 7 assists per game in his last 5, 11.4 potential assists. It all screams to an over. But in head-to-head matchups, he played the 76ers once. In that game, he had 2 assists and only 5 potential assists. So half the potential assists that he has been seeing as of late. What's the counter argument to that? Sohan, they've all been sat down for the rest of the year, which means Trey Jones and Victor Wembanyama are the only ones who are creating any offense on this team. Their roles have changed. So Victor might get more assist opportunities anyway. True. But he's also up against Joel Embiid. They don't make too many people as big as Joel Embiid in the NBA at the moment. There's probably no need to double team Victor Wembanyama at all in this game, whereas other teams probably more likely to do it more often. So, yeah, I'm a little bit unsure. I'm not going to lie. I'm a bit uncertain. So I'm going to research it a bit more, but that's definitely one play that I'm looking at. The other play that I'm looking at is for Trey Jones. I like his points in his rebound prop here. It's 14.5. Check this out. So he's cashed this in 4 consecutive games, 7 out of his last 10. As we know, we've got Sohan and Vassell. They're sat for the rest of the year. Check this out. These are his last 10 games without Vassell and Sohan in the lineup. He's cashed this in 9 out of his last 10, including 3 consecutive games. So I am loving this for Trey Jones. 14.5 points and rebounds. He gets very close to the point side of things. Somehow he gets a lot of boards. In head-to-head matchups, those guys were playing. But his last 2 games against Philly, 17 points and 1 rebound, 12 points and 4 rebounds. So he's covered this line his last 2 games against Philly. So excellent hit rates going all around, and he should have a lot of opportunities given the amount of players that are being sat down. Now, the last play in this game, and I'm so nervous to take this because Joel Embiid, you don't know if he's going to make it or not, but it's just his points prop, 29.5. Looking at the over here, yeah, he's been back for 3 games? Yeah, 3 games have been back. OKC, Miami, Memphis. He scored more points each and every game. 24 at OKC, 29 in Miami, then 30 against Memphis. That last game against Memphis only played 22.6 minutes, still scored 30 points, which is pretty wild. I don't know if he's on some sort of minutes restriction, but check this out. 70 points scored the last time he came up against the San Antonio Spurs. He's cashed this in 3 consecutive games against them. We all know that Wemby and the San Antonio Spurs allow the most points to centers on the season. A lot of players, they just step it up when Wemby on the court. Unfortunately, he becomes a target. But the only thing I'm concerned about is Joel's knee. His knee is the only issue that I have. So he does shoot at a high percentage. He probably doesn't have to play a whole lot of minutes. He scored 30 points on Memphis in 22 minutes. He can, if he plays 25, yeah, I can see him scoring 30 points again. So yeah, I'm just concerned about the knee, to be honest. But we'll see where I land. I'll obviously research it a bit more. What have we got next? We've got the New York Knicks versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, this game, I think Giannis, Beverly, Bogdanovic, game time decisions in this one, but a lot of the key players are available. But I'm only really liking 2 plays in this game. The very first one, looking at Giannis, if he does play, of course, but I don't mind his assist prop in this game. So his line's at 5.5. So Giannis has cashed this line of 5.5 in 6 of his last 10 games. He's hit it in 3 shots. The matchup, it is a difficult one. The Knicks allow the 9th fewest assists to power forwards on the season. But why I like this pick, check this out. Giannis, last 7 games against the New York Knicks, he's cashed this line in 6 of them, including 3 games this season. This season, he's had 10, 7, and 6 assists in the 3 games against the New York Knicks. So that's the main reason why I like that pick. The next one is for Jaylen Brunson. Now, it's not a first quarter play. I actually don't mind his actual points prop here of 29.5, which has now moved to 30.5. Of course it has. That actually just moved in the last 30 minutes. Right. Anyway, Jaylen Brunson, 30.5 points. We know the Milwaukee Bucks can't defend point guards. They allow the 3rd most points to point guards on the season. Jaylen Brunson has covered this in only 4 of his last 10 games. He's covered it in his last 2 matches against the Bucks. So he's played the Bucks 3 times this year. 24, 36, and 38 points scored on them. The Knicks, not loaded with a whole lot of offensive talent. OG Anunoby comes in. Miles McBride moves to the bench, which means you've got OG and Josh Hart and Hartenstein all running. So they're starting 5. The points are going to have to come from Jaylen Brunson or Dante DiVincenzo. He's covered this well in his last 2 games against them. Absolutely smoked them. His last 2 games, 35 points against the Kings, 35 points against the Chicago Bulls. Thibs still the coach of this team, so Brunson playing a whole lot of minutes. Check that out, 35.5 minutes per game. In his last 10 games, he's averaging 25 attempts per game, which is crazy. And in those head-to-head matchups against the Bucks, check that out. He's had 6 consecutive games against the Bucks where he's taken more than 20 shot attempts, which is wild. So, yeah, Jaylen Brunson, just on volume alone and the good matchup, I think he can score more than 30 points. So, all right. Yeah, that's a whole lot of games. Who makes this schedule? That's ridiculous. The next game, Sacramento Kings versus the Brooklyn Nets. So, no major lineup changes. We've got Cam Johnson, who's a game time decision for the Nets, but ain't nobody betted on that motherfucker anyway. I've only got 1 play, to be honest, that I'm considering for this, and it's Domantas Sabonis. Now, we all know that he can fill up a stat sheet, yes, but I'm actually looking at an under here for Sabonis, and I'm looking at an under in his points plus assists line. The line's at 27.5. So check this out. He's gone under 27.5 points plus assists in 8 out of his last 10 games, averaging 23.7 points plus assists. He's got a tough matchup here against the Nets. They allow the 4th fewest points and the 4th fewest assists to centers on the season. Thank you, Nick Claxton. In head-to-head matchups, he's gone under in 2 out of his last 3. So he's only versus Brooklyn Nets once this season. In that game, 15 points, 9 assists, 24 points plus assists, which is right where we need it to be, under 27.5. So that's why I'm liking Domantas Sabonis. Who knows about his rebounds? Points and assists is all I'm really caring about. My next play is in the next game. It's the Utah Jazz versus the Golden State Warriors. Andrew Wiggins is a game time decision, as well as Saric, Payton, Kuminga. Curry is out for this game. And for the Jazz, Chris Dunn is a game decision. So there's a chance that he comes back from injury. I'm only looking at one play in this one, and it's a play that I talk about almost every time he plays because it's been cashing every single time. Sometimes I don't take it. I bitch it, and it hits every single time. And that's Keontae George. His line, 24.5 for his PRA. You wouldn't believe it. So this was 25.5 when I previewed this a little bit earlier. But now the line's at 24.5. He's still got under this in 7 consecutive games, averaging 19.7 points, rebounds, and assists in his last 10. If Chris Dunn does play, that could also impact Keontae George's minutes. In terms of the matchup, he does have a good matchup here against the Warriors. This is where I'm a little bit hesitant to take it. The Warriors allow a lot of points and a lot of assists to point guards. He had 41 points, rebounds, and assists the last time he versed the Golden State Warriors back in February. So Chris Paul be out there. Chris Paul, Klay Thompson, I don't think either of them can really defend him. So, yeah, look, the numbers look great. The number is coming down, though. I think when I first started betting on this under, it's 29.5, and then it's gone down 1 point every single time. But so it should. He's been playing poorly, right? But, yeah, if he's got an aging Chris Paul on him, he might do some damage there. So I'm a little bit hesitant, but I've got it on my short list to investigate. And that's the only pick that I'm liking in this game. So we jump into the last game. I've got quite a few picks in this one that might tickle your fancy. Now, the first one probably won't. It's going to be a sweaty bet, but it's only for 12 minutes. So it's Mike Conley to go under 1.5 assists in the first quarter. So he's cashed this in 9 out of his last 10 games. He's cashed it in 16 of his last 20 games. And he's cashed it in his last 2 games against the Los Angeles Lakers, going under in 4 of his last 6. And Mike Conley in the first quarter, he only plays 6 minutes. So he only plays half of the first quarter. Anthony Edwards plays a full first quarter. You only have to sweat this bet for the first 6 minutes of the game. Matchup, it's not great, but it's not bad either. So, yeah, I don't mind it. It might be a sweaty 6 minutes, but it's only 6 minutes you got to sweat through, right? So Mike Conley under in his first quarter assists. The other play is another under. So we might parlay these things together and just sweat the whole quarter out. Why not? But I'm looking at Anthony Edwards under 8.5 points. This is also a play similar to Keontae George. I bring it up all the time. Now he's got under 8.5 points in the first quarter in 9 out of his last 10 games. Against the Lakers, he's gone under in 6 out of his last 7 games. In terms of the matchup, he has a good matchup to score some points in this game. But we just need him to go under for the first quarter. I wouldn't take his under on his total. But in the first quarter, I can see him deferring. Naz Reid, he's been getting busy in the first quarter. Rudy likes to make it happen as well. And hopefully Mike Conley scores some points in the first quarter so he's not getting any assists. I feel like this Anthony Edwards and the Mike Conley play could be somewhat correlated. God, my dog is snoring like crazy. Anthony Edwards, if he's not scoring, that means Mike Conley's probably not getting as many assists. So I might even put these two together. Why not? Let's get crazy with it. But yeah, that's one thing I'm considering. Great hit rate so far this year, and especially in his last 10. The other first quarter prop, do we just put all these together and just make one crazy first quarter parlay for this Lakers game? I'm looking at Rui Hachimura, over 2.5 points in the first quarter. I did bet on this last time, and it did cash for us. He's hit this in 8 out of his last 10 games. The matchup, somewhat difficult, but he scored 10 points in the first quarter the last time that these teams played. That was about a month ago. This in 3 of his last 6. But the hit rate for this is great. Rui takes about 2 to 3 shots per game in the first quarter, usually a couple 3-pointers. So he only needs to make 1 in order for this to cash. He plays 7.5 minutes, so could be a little bit sweaty. But yeah, look, he's hit this in 7 straight games. Like, it's one of those plays again. If it just keeps hitting, why don't we just keep taking it, right? Then we move into the last play. So the last play, quite a few. And I play this every single time these teams match up, I think. But it's Anthony Davis. There's a couple of picks that I like for his. In terms of the first single bet I'm liking, points plus assists is what I'm thinking about. 25.5 points plus assists for Anthony Davis. The matchup, somewhat difficult, but not extremely, up against Rudy Gobert. Now, he's covered this in 7 out of his last 10 games, which is pretty good. He's averaging 27.5 points plus assists. We only need 25.5. But where he really shines in this head-to-head matchup with Rudy, check this out. 6 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's cashed this in all 6 games, averaging 35.6 points plus assists, which is unbelievable. He's cashed this line in points alone in 5 of these games. So that's the first play that I like, points plus assists for Anthony Davis. The other player that I like is just his assist prop, but I'm looking at a value single here. So his line's at 2.5. He's cashing 5 of his last 10. What I'm considering taking is 3.5. It's plus 250. Now, he's only hit that in 3 of his last 10, but check this out. Last 4 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves, Anthony Davis has cashed this assist line. The other player that I'm thinking about, his points prop, the line's only at 23.5. He's been killing it against the Timberwolves. What I'm thinking about taking here is taking him for 30 points. So he's cashed this in only 3 of his last 10. In his last 6 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves, he's hit this 4 times. So I don't mind this for another plus money play for AD to absolutely eat Rudy Gobert alive in this one. You love to see it. Hopefully he can make it happen. But that's just something that I'm considering. So I'll dive into that a little bit further, and then you'll see. But this is the last game, actually. Jeez, that time's gone quick. Oh, not really. It's almost 50 minutes. No more. Excuse me. You made too much noise. And she's making more noise because I'm rubbing her. How good. All right, so I've got a lot of research that I need to do, but that's 31 different players I just took you through with a volume of picks, probably 40 to 50 picks in overall that we've just gone through and previewed. So if you don't like that, you can go get fucked. But I know a lot of you guys love it. The comments have been crazy. Like what we can say, the profits, the bets just keep banging. The channel keeps growing. We're getting closer to 6,000 subscribers. I reckon we'll hit it before the middle of the month. So if it is your first time watching, like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel because I'll be doing this every single day. The playoffs are just around the corner. And in the playoffs, it does get a little bit more difficult to bet player props. You got less players available. The lines become a lot sharper as well from all the sports books. You're going to need a tool like Outlier if you're going to stay ahead. And if you don't have Outlier yet, check the video description. I do have a 7-day free trial. Check it out. Do what I'm doing. Fuck around with it. It gets a lot easier the more you use it. And eventually, the picks start banging. But no pressure. You do you. As long as you like, comment, sub to the channel to support my way. I'm also like YouTube has this thing called channel memberships. It's like you create VIPs who watch and support your channel. I'm currently looking at that. I know a lot of you guys, I get a lot of messages of, how can people pay me? How can they donate to me? Venmo, Cash App, whatever those things are, because I don't have those in Australia. And I'm never going to sell the picks that I come up with. I'm leaving it free for everybody else. I already know that some people take my picks and they sell them to others because I've seen that being done. But I'm not going to sell mine. So I'm not going to charge a membership for the picks to make them exclusive or anything like that. But I am going to look into YouTube memberships to see what types of benefits it can give you, the viewer. And I'll see how that looks. And then the minute that's ready, I'll announce that for those who want to support me and everything that I do every single day. It's just another way for me to get some cash in my back pocket, really. So I'll share that with you guys. I know a lot of you guys are massive supporters. You comment every single day. You like every video. You'll wait for it to come up. So I've got to research another 31 players all over again, eliminate the ones that I don't like, bet on all the others, do some line shopping to find the best odds possible that I can find. Then I'm going to create a bet for you, which is a badass parlay or bitch-ass parlay. And I'm going to take my favorite bets that I come up with. I'm going to reduce the lines down for safety. Then we're going to chuck 1 unit on it. And then hopefully it cashes for us. So it really drives home the profit. But I've got a long night ahead of me. It's almost 10:30, 11 p.m. at night. So once this is all done, hopefully I can get to bed nice and easy. So appreciate you if you made it this far. I hope you liked the video. If you didn't, that's your problem because everyone else seems to. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Best of luck. Peace.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice on the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.